all, welcome to A Fistful of Dice. I'm Matt, and this video is both a response to Natural 20 Films' video about the best movies to watch for fantasy role-playing games, and also a more in-depth answer to Tadling76's question on my most recent Fistful of Questions video, which was what movies inspire me, basically, for gaming. So I'm going to do a 5, not necessarily in any order, but definitely my top 5 movies that I feel are good representations of my gaming style, movies that make me want to game or GM. The first one is actually 2. I'm going to cheat a little bit, but I think they're best in conjunction. The first is Conan the Barbarian, and the second is Conan the Destroyer. Now, I'm definitely a much bigger fan of Conan the Barbarian than I am of the Destroyer, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But these movies are high adventure. They are sword and sorcery at its best. I'm a huge Conan the Barbarian fan. I've read all the stories. I collect the comic books. I'm eventually going to do a video of my Conan collection. It's going to be really cool. But the movies are not without their flaws. The movies are definitely a little bit farther from the books than I'd like, but I still enjoy them quite a bit. And I actually enjoy Arnold Schwarzenegger's take on Conan. It's closer to the books than people say, I think. People kind of give him a bad rap, but anyway, Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer are both great adventure movies. The first one's all about revenge. The second one is all about a quest. And it's Conan and his allies, basically. The second one is really good because there is an actual party. There's Conan, there's the guard, there's the princess, the thief, the mage, and as well as a female barbarian. A really great sort of eclectic party, all with different weapons and skills that help Conan achieve this quest. So if you haven't watched either of the original Conan movies, definitely check them out, and stray away from the most recent Conan reboot film. The second one is going to be Willow. Willow is a movie that I grew up watching and love to this day. There's a lot of crazy creatures in it, cool magic battles, different, fantastical locations and events happening, and there's Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan, the swordsman, who is a great character and who has inspired many tabletop characters of my own. So, in fact, I'm going to be playing kind of a Mad Mardigan type character in Dawnforge Cast's Halloween game that is upcoming. So look forward to that. Definitely check out Willow. There's a dragon fight in it that's really cool. So the next pick is pretty obvious, but it's the Lord of the Rings films, and specifically Fellowship of the Ring. I feel like Fellowship of the Ring, more so than any of the other Lord of the Rings films, encompasses a D&D type adventure. You've got your party, who are all sort of skilled at different things. You've got Aragorn the Ranger, Boromir the Fighter, Gandalf the Wizard, Legolas, who is definitely like a Ranger Druid type character, Gimli, who is definitely a fighter, and then you've got the Hobbits, who are all kind of, hobbity, I suppose. But it's a great adventure movie. It's a great quest movie, and even though there's sort of dark and foreboding things happening, it's less violent and dark than the last two, less fatalistic. The first Lord of the Rings movie is definitely an adventure movie, and it's for that reason that it's my favorite of the 3. The next pick is gonna be a little strange, but it's Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. Now, this is not necessarily a traditional fantasy movie, but it is a fantasy movie. The main characters are all they're all creatures. With the exception of Liz Sermon, but Hellboy is a half demon. Abe Sapien is a lab experiment. You've got oh man, why did I forget his name? He's in the comics too. But the ghost inhabiting the suit, the diving suit, and there's also Liz Sherman, who is a pyromancer. And there's not a normal one in the bunch. And they go to this place in the movie called the Troll Market, which is just, it's such a cool sequence. There's so many strange creatures and foreign exotic things. It's really inspired a lot of stuff for me as a GM and as a player. And also the final battle with this Golem army is very, very cool. The other thing that's neat about Hellboy 2: The Golden Army is that it has a totally different take on elves. The elves in Hellboy 2: The Golden Army are not beautiful, you know, serene creatures. They're quite sinister looking, and the main villain of the movie happens to be a total badass elf martial artist guy. So definitely check out Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. Great movie. Especially if you're a fan of the comics. I'm a big fan of the Hellboy comics. So. And the final film is going to be totally out of left field, but when I explain it, you'll see why. Big Trouble in Little China. Now, this is a movie that is just so much fun. There's magic and martial arts and gunfights and chases and rescues and all kind of fist fights, all kinds of crazy stuff happening in the movie. And it really encompasses kind of the off-the-wall nature of tabletop gaming. You know, you can't really expect anything. You know what I mean? Like in Big Trouble in Little China, you know, there's characters that have magic, and the main character, Kurt Russell, is just thrown into this situation that he is totally over his head in. And I just think, like, I've gotten a lot of inspiration from Big Trouble in Little China for campaigns, and I've already mentioned this before, but my most recent campaign that I just finished up was sort of inspired by Game of Thrones and Big Trouble in Little China, to a lesser extent Hellboy 2, but you know, don't restrict yourself to taking inspiration from straightforward fantasy movies like Willow and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Like, branch out. Look at movies that have fantasy elements, that have sci-fi elements, and you can draw from those and get great ideas from movies that you wouldn't necessarily think would give you inspiration.